What the? What the? That's the cacophony you will hear in the few theaters that play the movie we're going to talk about today, because there will be very few theaters that play it. Although, interestingly enough, in our neck of the woods, which is the motherfucking boonies of the boonies, we have a theater playing it.
Oh, yeah?
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
But if you don't have a theater nearby that's going to play this movie, which we still haven't named, by the way, but you probably know because you read the title of the fucking video.
That's usually how things work.
Stinky that we're holding it back.
The surprise is coming.
If you don't have it, Shudder is currently hosting this film. They bought the, streaming rights to it because this is a film that, oddly enough, had some sort of anticipation behind it brewing among those that knew it was even going to be a thing. I remember hearing about this quite a while back, but then it just fell to the back of my mind as things that never happen tend to do.
Yeah.
And then, shockingly, it happened. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
Apparently
That's interesting.
It was a Kickstarter thing. There was a Kickstarter thanks.
Yeah, that was ultimately what ended up making this kickstart again. But this is being billed here recently as a film that's taken 30 years or more to make. Kinda. Yeah, there was a long period of time where nothing was being done on it. Let's just say that. So does that really count as time being made? I know, homie.
But it did start in 1987.
Yeah, it did start in 1987. This is kind of like this.
So Al probably heard about it back in the day.
He is a student of the 80s. So there's that. But fucking Al aside, who clearly made it.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is a movie that is kind of like this pet project of Phil Tippett. If the name doesn't ring any bells, I mean, it's no big deal. It's not like this guy is being talked about commonly by, normal cinephiles. Yeah. Only mad dweebs would know. But let's just say he had a very important hand in any stop motion that you see in, like fucking the original Star Wars series.
The Star Wars?
The Star Wars specifically. RoboCop, that stop motion in that. He's also one of the guys that is responsible for the Go motion style of stop motion, which, gave it kind of a more fluid and motion blur-like effect.
Anytime you see stop motion with motion blur, it's Go motion.
Yeah. Unlike our former partner,
we just called all stop motion Go motion.
Yeah, dude, our former co-host just assumed all stop motion was Go motion, but it's not. Anyway, Phil Tippett is one of these guys, and I gotta admit his style is pretty cool. I first came across it through the RoboCop movies, and oddly enough, that's probably where it last was seen at its height, RoboCop 2, because he was gonna be one of the effects guys on Jurassic Park, but as we all know, CG made leaps and bounds, and also animatronics, of course, to make those dinosaurs come to life, and as a result, Phil Tippett was like, damn homie, I'm gonna fucking get out of this place. I'm dead now.
Yeah.
But he ended up after that being kind of like basically a visual effects supervisor of some renown. Designer and etc. He's worked on movies like Starship Troopers, for example. Unfortunately, he also directed Starship Troopers 2, which is a stinky one. Sucks, guys. It's bad. Proof that it's bad. Ron Perlman's in it, and it's not one of the ones he likes. So let's just say that. So I'm not saying Phil Tippett's a perfect person here, but he's legendary for what he has contributed to the effects world. So it was very interesting to see that this guy that was so influential and that, fans of movies, especially the weirder genre fare, always bemoan the fact that physical effects, in whatever ilk they came, went away and are being replaced by CGI. And no shitting on CGI. Thankfully, that's gotten better too. But, there's just something about the tactile...
it exists, feel.
Yeah, that vibe it's just, it can't be replaced. You know what I'm saying? A shitty effect even.
Yeah, like RoboCop arms.
Yeah, those RoboCop arms were long, guy. And no, we don't mean the RoboCop himself.
No, the guy that falls.
The guy that falls, man. Them arms, boy. Mega long. Anyway, there's just something about an effect that existed in some form. Physically, that's indispensable and priceless to fans of that stuff, and we are most definitely that. I was not aware that you were aware of this, but that's fucking cool because that means you at least went into it with some form of anticipation. Now, anticipation can be a kick in the nuts. We all know that. So where do we stand? Well, where we stand is, and what the? As our reaction. This is a highly surreal, highly symbolic, and you could see the influences, obviously, in like Judeo-Christian belief, but it's not strictly adhering to that. You can see the influences of like 2001: A Space Odyssey, oddly enough. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of influences that you see peppered throughout this to make something that I'm sure to the creator makes 100% sense. But in a Lynchian fashion, to us, the viewer, we have to make sense of it. Go.
I have to ask a question now. And this is tied to a video that we did on the which actually it's on Spotify. On fandom.
Right.
And so now another question rises. Can you love something that you don't know what the shit any of it means?
Oh,
because I think I'm at that place.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we are Lynch fans. David Lynch,
that's a good point.
There's some shit of his that just makes no fucking sense. And you know it makes 100% sense to him. And or
which
not.
Is disturbing.
He's also said, like, I don't even know what the hell's going on, you know? I'm a big fan of Lynch. You've experienced Lynch and loved it. So, you know, sometimes I hate Lynch. Like, Lost Highway took me a while to love. And sometimes I still think I hate it. You know, Inland Empire is one of the most difficult movies of Lynch to get into. And yet, I understand inherently that there's masterful elements of it, maybe as the whole. It's just something that I've always struggled with. But there's also something about that. Something about a movie where you fight with it, but you not because you hate it, but because you know inherently there's something in there that is being said that is important to someone, even if it's just the maker himself or something that speaks to something inside you. And now there is something here that speaks to me, and I'm sure you notice there is a lot of kind of pseudo-biblical influence in this, and it's evident from the beginning shot. You know, we basically have like the Tower of Babel and God striking down the rise of men, and then we have a scroll of Leviticus, showing the wrathful God. The movie itself is called Mad God, and what's interesting is that could go down a pit where it just becomes something religious, but it's not. This is a kind of like dabbling. It's using that as a foundation to give you a foundation to bounce off of.
I think,
and really, it's like a big nihilistic, bleak, cosmic piece of horror. Because ultimately this is a movie about, no matter what the minutia that you may not understand, this is ultimately, and I think you'll agree, a movie about the terrifying idea of an uncaring deity and our destiny to just perpetuate destruction. Yeah,
I think this is I don't think I've thought as much as I have during a movie as with this one. And it would just bring up thoughts that were instantly like, no, it can't be that. But it was kind of interesting. I like that it did that. And then, ultimately, it kind of becomes clear, but not really.
Yeah.
You're still kind of like...
It's still very heavily symbolic, and there's a lot of archetypal imagery.
There's no moment where you're like, oh, that's what that means. It just kind of gives you some ideas that are stronger than others. You know,
mankind itself is portrayed in a variety of ways, from strictly human-like to literally the product of waste, and there's stuff like that. Obviously, there's a representation of death in it, but it itself is very unique, and there's a character that that's another thing. You don't get names for characters in here.
You don't get dialogue and nothing.
There's no dialogue. It's not a silent movie. There's music and there's sounds. Excuse me. And the characters do make sounds, but they're largely incoherent, if at all, right? But you do eventually get the gist of things, at the very least, if you put your work into it. And I know this is not going to be a movie for everybody, because
Al is going to hate this movie.
Yeah. We don't mean that as an insult, but, per his taste, this is not the type of movie that he would, or maybe he would, who knows, right? But generally speaking, per his taste. So, by default that there's a lot of people that are not going to like this particular, or they're not going to understand or get or whatever, or want to get. And I get that, man. Some people just don't like their entertainment to be laborious. And hey, I don't like my entertainment to be laborious all the time. But sometimes I do, and sometimes I like it to be cruelly laborious, like this can be. But at the same time, what makes this easy is that the sheer amount of work that they put into the visual aspect of it makes it worthwhile during those times when you feel like maybe it's defeating you. Maybe you're a wrestling game between you and it.
It throws it at you instantly. I mean, like the movie starts with 10 minutes of a guy going down into Earth, and it's slow, and it's gonna show you everything that they did, every piece of work that they put into it, and it has heavy atmosphere. But I could see someone being like, what is this? Yeah,
exactly. Lots of walking, but not in the Roger Corman sense, where you're just you are just seeing stuff, but there's a reason behind it. And on that note, by the way, the descent of the first, as we find out, they're called assassins, which again, if just reading the names of the characters kind of elucidates the material a lot more. So this is a movie you definitely have to revisit once you see it once, and we've only seen it once so far. But anyway, just seeing the descent of the assassin, the first one, and then later the second one, it almost has a Dante's Inferno kind of freak show feel. There's a fascination with the macabre there.
It's showing you everything. Yeah.
So on that superficial base level, not to say that Dante's Inferno is superficial, but you know what I mean. There's a general cultural morbid fascination with the visuals evoked by Dante's Inferno, and there's very much of that here. And in fact, the parallel between Earth and hell being Earth is very much a present element in the movie, so very apropos. But that alone can be fascinating to hold your attention as you wrestle with the material, and it's a very, very rewarding match you have with the material if you're willing to go the distance. It just feels when you finish it like you can take a breath, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I like you've achieved something almost. And again, like a movie like Hereditary recently was one of those movies where I felt like once I finished it, I was like, and then I was like, I want to see it again, and you get that kind of same effect, or actually very much get that effect here, and it's necessary even to see it again to fully grasp more and more. You've gone through the experience. Now you can go through experience with some more footing and go back. And it's just one of those things. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, what the fuck? If you haven't heard of this, what is the plot here? I mean, it's very simple, really, at its core. But it's figuring out the whys that is difficult. So the plot is generally, as we see it, is a being known only as the assassin, per the credits, is basically we don't even see at first that he is lowered down by somebody else, but he comes down onto what is essentially a hellish, fucking nightmarish version of Earth. You can almost say a post-apocalyptic in the way it's represented. And he's clearly on a single-minded mission, and that is to destroy something, as he's carrying a case, which we eventually see that it's meant to destroy something, and what's interesting is that partway into the movie, his storyline pretty much is finished, and that's where you really feel the bleakness of the movie. Not that you haven't already, because he's trudging through horrendous scenes.
Wastelands.
Wastelands. Each bearing, each new area that he visits bearing some sort of horror or some sort of implication of the corruption and destruction that we have wrought upon ourselves, if not been allowed to bring upon ourselves by some, God that doesn't even lend a hand or something like that, but his mission is practically over, and spoiler, not in a good way, and that's when we realize, oh no, we're entering a cycle, and that just begins to. You're already kind of
saw it because there's other cases. So you've seen that it's happened a bunch of times.
You understand it, but then you then you understand it.
It takes away that maybe that this time it'll be.
It's virtually hopeless at that point. You know what I'm saying? And then then we begin to learn a bit more, and the implications therein are as I said at the beginning, cosmic in weight and cosmic in terms of cosmic horror. You know, there really is this oppressive notion that we're doomed because somebody doesn't care. There's a point where a character is introduced, which later in the credits is called the Alchemist, where you get the well, at least I got the possible vibe that this is the God character. This is the deity maybe in question in some form, and he's mad. You know, he himself has created some form of life and takes great pleasure in basically introducing destruction into the environment of that life he has created. And yet we learn that he's just but a cog in the wheel. Cog in the works, if you will. And that carries its own, you know, form of dread. And like I said, it ends in this big kind of Kubrickian ending. You know, again, if you've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, you'll see a lot of familiar things there. So, yeah, it's a very unique experience. You know what I'm saying? It's a very unique experience. I'm sure you got something to say, guy.
I think it's visually, like, if you're not digging or if you're not getting what's going on, at the very least, it's a visual thing that you're gonna be like at least appreciate because it's so much work put into it. It's also very it's kind of like at least to me, it kind of gave off vibes of like The Wall, visually, and some of the stuff that's kind of shown. Also, the art of David Firth, the creator of Salad Fingers, is very, very kind of obviously. It just looks like his art, you know. And of course, that bleak feel, of course, obviously very different. But yeah, it's just from a visual thing. If you have some kind of, I don't want to say if you're a creative, but if you have some creative thing in your mind, it's gonna spark it at least and be like, damn, someone made this, and it makes sense to him.
And what's unique on top of that, you know, we mentioned that Phil Tippett's forte was this stop motion field, right? And of course, he expounded on that because he had to evolve with the industry, right? And you see all of that in here. You know, this is not a stop motion movie. There's a lot of stop motion in it, but there's also a lot to be appreciated in terms of matte paintings. Live action is integrated into it. You know, of course, having to communicate disparate sizes, and so you know there's a lot of work being put into that.
That's really cool how they show sizing. You can see that it's like a miniature or something, but it just adds to it weirdly.
Yeah, the miniature work alone, the puppetry. There's a lot of puppetry.
There's even some digital stuff. And you know, that works really well.
Yeah, so it's kind of like this miasmal blend of elements, and
it's like a freaking music video from the 90s.
Yeah, you know what? Very reminiscent of like 9 Inch Nails videos, you know, those really disturbing ones that got banned from MTV. Yeah, in a lot of ways, very much there. You know, obviously this is going to have a cult following. That's a given. And what's great about that is that you could see that a variety of types of people are going to follow it like for a variety of reasons.
I think what I liked about it was the visuals, obviously, were very... Like, I could see if I saw this as a kid, not getting any of it.
But it being fascinating.
But it being like, remember that freaking movie we watched? So I could see that, a lot of people being that way. But, yeah, it also makes you think a lot. And it doesn't feel like it's trying to make you think.
Right.
It's just happening. And
it's
you're
the
like,
nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's happening and you're kind of have to think. Because you're like, what is this?
Yeah, I'll say this. If you make zero effort to engage the movie... to whatever level of success, you're probably not going to have a good time. You know what I'm saying? You might just be like angry at it.
If you try to make sense of it, you're going to hate it. As in a logical sense.
Yeah. I checked IMDb. I don't know if there's more up now, but I checked to see if there was other languages, or languages at all, really. I didn't know it was silent, but I always check that because, you know, subtitles are an ordeal for me. So I was like, not, as in I mean that I have to download them, but you know, so I was like, okay, well, let me see if there's any subtitles of another language, but there wasn't even a language, right? So if you go to IMDb, right next to that are the viewer reviews, and the first, if not only, I don't know because I didn't check more, the dude was like, this is mad boring, guy. And I could totally see people being, a certain type of people being utterly bored by this. But if you're not that type of person, if you're a little adventurous, if you are appreciating strange, incredibly weird cinema, if you're appreciative of Lovecraftian elements in the sense of the cosmic horror, if you're appreciative of special effects in general, or there is gonna be an audience for this. It's just not gonna be your mainstream audience, But it's kind of fucking great that there are theaters playing this, and that somebody's just gonna go in, thinking, "Oh, I haven't heard of this movie. Let me check it out." Because there are people that do that, and they're gonna be like, "What the?" And it's gonna stick in their fucking brain, and years from now, they're gonna be, "Man, remember that fucking movie? What the hell was that?" That's cool, man.
You don't really get a lot of movies that like that anymore. They're just strictly from visuals, make you go, "The hell did I just watch?"
Yeah, this is definitely it's an interesting one. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, okay, pretty interesting endeavor. Final thoughts and a score. A scale 1 to 10. Just in general, because really, there's not much like it out there. I guess surreal ass films like Lynchian films, I guess, would be an equal. But anyway.
I think when we started this, I was kind of unsure if I got any of it. But as you spoke about it, it seems like I did get a lot of it, weirdly. So that's reassuring. Because I felt like a moron after we finished it. But yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those things that's going to make you freaking think. And eventually one of your thoughts is probably going to be right, and that's kind of what happened with me. I was giving up like a lot of freaking theories, and one of them seemed to be what the movie was trying to say, and that's pretty cool. That's cool just to think, sometimes. And I really liked it. I think just from visuals, like I'm a very visually oriented fella, and even if I didn't get anything, I still would have kind of loved this movie. So I'm gonna give it the music's really good, I gotta say.
Music's pretty great.
I'm gonna give it a mad freaking 10, guy, from me.
If you like stuff like Eraserhead or Holy Mountain or just really strange niche endeavors, then you're definitely gonna dig this. There's no way you don't. But there is also a lot of stuff that for people that don't normally go down those routes to latch onto and hold on for the ride and just explore. So that's very cool. Like you said, even like little much more mainstream elements like the similarity to like a Nine Inch Nails video or something. That there's so much influence from other stuff in here.
I could see someone, like I said, I could see someone who likes salad fingers liking this.
Right, yeah.
Because it tickles that same kind of pickle, and that salad fingers itself, though it's comedic in a way, it gives you so little that you kind of have to make up things in your head, and there's entire communities built around that, so I could see people.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot there for a wide, for a lot of people to grab up from different walks of life to grab onto and see and explore, and that's very cool. It's very hard for someone to manage that on something so experimental, I guess. You know what I'm saying? You either do or you don't, kind of, it seems, with very experimental stuff. And how many people enjoy Kenneth Anger movies? Not many, but those that do really enjoy them. However, this I could see more people grabbing onto it and getting something their own out of it, and that's what ultimately makes really great art, when you could sit down and kind of work an interpretation out of it. Sometimes it comes at you right away, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to do legwork, and sometimes what matters is your interpretation of it, and this could be all of those things, really, because it's so very clearly a personal thing, But also you could see that there are things that maybe that person will see those elements and this person will see those. So clearly it's something that could speak to a lot of people despite being a personal thing. And that once it speaks, those people can make up their own minds. And that's cool, man. That's really cool. Visually impressive. Just an achievement. And all the more considering all the work that went into it over so many years. People working on weekends for free, just doing this to see this man's vision come to life.
It'd be very interesting if there's a commentary track.
Yeah, hopefully it gets a fucking physical release. I'm sure it will, given that Shudder bought the distribution rights.
Yeah, the credits actually said DVD edition put together by, so maybe, but that's probably for the Kickstarters, not.
That's true. Yeah. Hopefully there will be, something for a wide release, because it would be interesting to hear. But yeah, I'll give it a 10 too, man. This is super unique, what can I say? And if you haven't seen Mad God, do check it out. It's on Shudder, as I said. And yeah, probably haven't seen anything like it. So that's the thing at the very least, right? So anyway, let us know what you think about it. In the meantime, we're out.